All right, this is going to be some Diamond Winston gameplay. This is a Winston game on Busan, just a normal autopilot game, honestly. I wasn't really warm or anything, I was just chilling. I think this is good, though, since this is how I usually play when I am not tryharding. In this game, sometimes I have a really weird movement, or just don't move or jump off the map on accident. That is due to high latency I'm facing currently at the new place I live at. It's just 200 latency. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's kind of tough, so I won't sweat it too much. That's definitely going to affect the timing of some mechanical things. I think, like, once you eclipse, like, 130, 140 frames, I say latency, it definitely starts to impact some of your mechanical things. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but there's not a whole lot you can do. And then we have another code here just in case we have time, and we probably will. So we will take a look at that. This is a 66 code. Are these all 66 codes? Let me just kind of skim through these really fast because that might change how I coach just slightly here. So let me make doubly sure. Okay, that's a 66 code. And then this is a 66 code as well. I guess you guys can't even see this, so let me change the scene here. So it looks like we have all 66 codes, so we'll start with the Busan one first and kind of go down chronologically from there. Make sure I've got the right one here. Okay, yeah, this is the Busan here. So basically, Winston is in both 5v5 and 66. There's no real change about his strengths, which is utilizing his mobility to take off angles, apply pressure from side angles, whether that's on backline or front line or sideline. I think the important thing, especially when we're talking about 66, is that it doesn't really matter. And to be honest, it applies to 5v5 as well. The point of Winston is that you have some of the best mobility in the game in the tank cast, which means that a large portion of your value is approaching from different angles, basically pulling the enemy's attention on different sides. Let me actually pull this up from Microsoft Paint and we can take a look here, because I think this will be easier to demonstrate when we can visualize it from a third-person perspective. Let me check this here. Okay. So basically, if we kind of draw the enemy team as this giant red blob and your team is this giant blue blob, it's beautiful, right? The way to look at Overwatch in terms of balance is that you either have blobs, aka tanks that are really good at taking frontline trades, aka if they have a lot of mitigation, they have a lot of damage, they have a lot of utility that allows them to win effective HP trades on frontline. Like they can shield stuff off, or they can hit you with a lot of damage, or they can absorb your cooldowns, and they can block this and block that, and so that they will block or do more damage than the enemy tank, right? Aka Sigma, Rissa, Ryan, whatever, right? Or you have tanks that aren't very good at those frontline trades, as in they don't have a lot of damage, they don't have a lot of mitigation, they don't have a lot of burst. And what they have is they have mobility, which allows them to, instead of thinking about the power of their trades, it's more about the placement of the trades. Because whether you're playing 66 or 5v5, map control, side angles, approaching from different sides matters. And the reason why it matters is because it denies cover. It forces the enemy attention to go in multiple different directions. It splits attention, which then opens up resources. So in other words, if I pull enemy resources off to the side, that then takes a large amount of pressure off from the front line. In the same way that shield can block off damage, our Wrecking Ball, Winston, Diva coming from the side will pull that damage away from my team towards the side. And so that's a huge, big thing for Winston, right? It's like that's how you tank, is you pull the resources that you normally block with a shield or a shift or just a big fat body, and instead you're pulling that off to the side. That's essentially what mitigation does, okay? But the really important thing about Winston, and this is where his mobility kind of kicks in as well, it's the really important thing about off angles, is it often allows you to get to more vulnerable targets that provide more pressure. As in, if the tanks don't do their job and match you on that angle, in other words, if the Diva or the Rhine or the Orisa or the Malga don't meet you on that angle, and instead you're running into, like, let's say, a Reaper or a Genji or a Zenyatta on that side angle instead, then your output of pressure isn't just normal, as in if you took a frontline trade as a Sigma. It's actually higher, because even if it's not killing the target, a zapped Zen, zapped Reaper, zapped Genji demands more help from their team, or more panic, there's more kill threat there, than just zapping a tank. And this is even with 6v6 tank pools. So what this means is that it's really important that you're opening up lateral angles, side-to-side angles, and trying to find ways to pressure the front line, sideline, or backline, depending on what you get, because it's what causes more opportunity to get better targets, yes. But even if you don't get those better targets, even if you just end up tank trading, which is going to happen a lot more in 66, then at least you're distracting the enemy team from the main focus of the fight, or at least splitting their attention more effectively. And why mobility allows you to do that is because mobility not only allows you to get from your team to these side angles in the first place, But it also means that you're allowed to approach and apply pressure here. And then depending on how that goes, you can either go deeper and finish the kill immediately, or you can just get out if things go poorly. And a lot of tanks in 66 and 5v5 can't do that near as effectively. Now, angles are always important, whether in 5v5 or 66. And if you can take this even without mobility, you'll do it. But a character like Winston could do it with a lot more impunity. They can get away with it a lot more often. And so that's crucial with Winston. So what we're going to look at here is probably a lot of, I won't even say frontline trades, but we'll say tank trades. In other words, we'll probably be fighting some DPS and we'll probably be fighting some tanks because good 6v6 players are not going to, they're not going to let you take an angle for free. They're going to fight you for it, right? That's how Overwatch 1 and 2 work. However, the question is going to be, are you at least making them try to match you? Are you inconveniencing them? And then on those tank trades, whether it's an Orisa, Roadhog, or it's an Ana, or a Zen, or a Mercy, are you playing well mechanically? Are you bubbling it well? Are you managing your HP well? Are you using your alternate fire well? Are you using cover well? Because the thing about Winston is a lot of people are like really hesitant to take like, oh, I don't want to fight an Orisa on an angle. I don't want to fight a Ryan on an angle. And then I guess in some ways that can be true. Like if you have options of like which angle to choose, you probably want to do the one that doesn't have that. But frankly, if the angle is good, if it's really inconvenient, it doesn't really matter what you fight, even as a Winston. So if I'm here and I'm pulling the Orisa from this position and she has to go all the way over here and chase me, and then I bubble and I force Javelin or Javelin Spin or maybe a little bit of Fortify, and I bubble, because if you bubble dance a lot, like the key thing is that bubble is so freaking strong that you can actually do a decent amount of damage even to a tank, right? In most matchups. And if you force some cooldowns and don't take as much damage and you inconvenience the target a lot, that is actually a favorable cooldown trade. Because what makes bubble so effective is it allows you to do damage while also, in theory, not taking damage. So even if I'm fighting an Orisa, if I have bubble, I should actually win that HP trade. I want you to consider that. If I have my bubble, I can actually win the HP trade. Does that make sense? And I think a lot of people don't realize that, because that's the real important thing that makes Winston separate from even other dive tanks, is that even Wrecking Balls and even Divas, they don't win HP trades in the same way that Winston does. Now, they have a lot more lethality, they have a lot more damage, but they don't have the capability of doing damage and mitigating damage at the same time, and doing so in a way that can avoid certain cooldowns, certain crowd control. And so when you're thinking about playing Winston, it's not just verticality, it's not just the flanks. It might also be that ability to do damage if you can do it safely. And so that's why I do think, I mean, we won't worry too much about it in this VOD here because it is what it is, but that is why things like latency matters a lot, because, you know, your ability here, if we look at the composition, wait, is this just straight up open queue? Yeah, this is just straight up open queue. It's been a while since I've coached 66, but yeah, your ability to not take damage from this Orisa or Torbjorn, or to force overload with Mercy Pocket without taking too much damage, or to force like Zenyatta Mercy Pocket without, taking too much damage from the soldier, or to force a bubble and Javelin Spin. Basically, all these things are really, really important. So we want to find out, are you doing those things effectively? And that starts with side angles. You can definitely tell the latency right there. Okay, so the rule is you take off to the side. If you don't meet anybody, you just deepen. So this is just a good rule for 5v5 and 66. If they had met you there and you guys had fought here, then you probably would have like bubble traded here, maybe even bubble traded here off to the side on that tank line. But there's literally nobody there. They just ran to point, which is really stupid of them. So yeah, you're just going to take a free dive on the sideline. And this is why angles matter, right? If they make a mistake with marking you, you immediately punish that with lethality. So this soldier could die, probably should die, and he does. Beautiful. And frankly, yeah, I was going to say, don't hesitate. You just keep deepening until you're marked. Until you run into somebody, just keep deepening. This is why angles matter, right? Obviously, probably a little bit of a premature bubble there, but I'd be careful about this. So remember, you're like, oh, we're up a couple, but remember, your ability to mitigate damage is not, oh, how many people do I have alive? It's, do I have my bubble, right? So, I mean, you can literally die in a 6v1 sometimes if you're stupid with who you're diving and the resources that you have. So, yeah, just chill here for a second. Doesn't mean you can't die without bubble, of course. There's nuance to that, very much so, but you need to be very careful with this. So, okay, let's chill. This is actually, if you were to have a map with more DPS, this is definitely the one to do so because it's a much more open map. So generally, on average, tanks are better in proximity. And so you'll want two tanks on maps that are more congested. And more DPS is better in more open maps. So with where your team is fighting right now, I think this is totally fine. This is, again, we're taking a free side angle and rotating the backline. I want to, again, ask what would happen if Zen was here. What would happen if Azari was here? Well, you'd probably bubble trade and then disengage. Don't take damage. Just walk in the back lane. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. That's unfortunate. But the good news is that it's still an inconvenience from the Orisa. You need to be really careful. That was a bit of an awkward jump. Okay, we still get out. We preserve most of our HP. We grab the Mega, and we are able to hold the angle. Okay, so this is where mechanics matter. Okay, so right now you grab Mega. You need to not move back in this direction. So in mechanics, I guess I'm not really talking about mechanics now, so disregard that. But what I mean is positioning, right? So I mean in terms of your setup, right? So your laning here is not inconvenient for Orisa that much. She kind of already wants to be moving this way. So I want to pause right now and ask you, how should you approach this Orisa if you're going to approach this Orisa? If this Orisa wants to chase you, how do you cut it off? How do you deal with that? So first off, you failed in the first metric, which is to avoid the burst damage, right? And second off, from a positioning standpoint, once we grab Mega here, why are we tucking back in towards here? Hold here. Jump across to here, walk here, bubble zap here. And then if the Orisa turns around and zaps you that way, it's so much more inconvenient. This is not inconvenient for the Orisa, and this is also why you lost so much HP. This is not a good angle. Fundamentally, this area of the map is fine for you, but you really, really, really misplayed that trade. And so then you, worst case scenario, you die. Best case scenario, you live, but you don't take a very effective HP trade. So your angle there to start was okay, but you didn't actually execute that side of the map very well, and so you're getting punished as a result. Okay, I guess that's that. Yeah, this is more of what I'm talking about, right, in terms of bubble trading, right? There's no possible way the enemy team can follow up off of you in terms of punishing you. The Zarya has to turn diametrically all the way around, so there's a real good chance that she could lose a lot of HP off of that. And also, notice that you actually lost very little health off of that. I mean, you could have lost even less if you think about it from a perspective of, like, this right here. Like, if you didn't take that, you're actually, like, 4-something HP-wise, so this is fine. We just need to stop taking damage. Like, I'm telling you, so much of Winston is not taking damage unnecessarily during bubble cycles and not taking damage when you don't have bubble. So, like, the reality is that you're just not doing very much right now. So the first thing you should do is just walk over to mini health back, take a second, and then deepen your angle from here if you want to on the Zen. You see what I'm saying? Like, maybe this is part of the latency thing as well. Maybe part of this is just you need to wait for your team. But you don't you don't have health, and you don't have your bubble yet either. So you really should just chill and get your health back and then go from there. It's not about uptime with Winston. It never was. If it's anything about uptime, it's when I have health and bubble, I need to be set up to do something. And so what you do at the time that you don't have that time, or don't have those resources, you invest that time in improving your positioning. Like even here, even if you'd made that jump, why are we running it down here? Why are we not doing the exact same thing that worked before, which is wrapping this way and approaching point from here, or approaching it from this way and closing from this angle here? I don't want to play patty cake with these guys here. And it's not just a question of, oh, it's the targets on point that I don't want to play with. Remember, the targets don't matter as much. I just don't want to be surrounded as Winston. So even if there's an Orisa here, I'd rather trade with an Orisa and a bubble on the flank than deal with a soldier and whatever and then get pincered by everyone around you. Does that make sense? I know you probably have a good reason for why you want to point, but I'm telling you the reason's not good enough. So you're kind of crossing. You can see you're crossing from main to right instead of just going from right to right. So there's an opportunity there to take the unnecessary damage. That's good. It's a decent jump. We can look a little bit more at who you were targeting. It's very strange for you to be going in front of a Zenyatta and not be targeting the Zenyatta. He's your highest burst threat and also the guy that can heal the guy that you're shooting. So this is a pretty big mistake from you in terms of how you played it. But the actual angle itself is really good. And that's taking space right there. Did you just see that? Watch the blue circles really fast. This is from bad staging too. So we go from main to right, not good. Pressure on the angle, pressure on the side. Decent resource trade. We do more damage than we take. Look at Zarya, look at Orisa, look at Mercy, look at Zen, look at Soldier, and then look at the angle that you just gave for your Soldier. Look at the angle you just gave for your Torbjorn, and then also look at the damage that you took. You didn't take that much damage, and the reason why that's important is, like, what's the point of not taking damage if I can't do anything when I don't have bubble anyway? So it's like, who cares if I'm 1 HP? I'm not doing anything anyway. Well, the reason is, though, that this guy here, and then this guy here, wait, that's the wrong one. There you go. Do you see that they're not really healing you? They can actually go back to healing other people and doing damage, right? I don't know why he's still healing you, but yeah, basically TLDR is that you have opened up the opportunity for your supports to do other things. You're not a drag to them when you're no longer providing value. So my criticism here would be, I think walking forward here is fine. But again, you're waiting for a bubble here, and I don't care if you're up one here. You really don't want to be doing this because you're not trading health effectively. So if you were to walk forward anywhere now, I want to ask you a question. Where should you be walking forward? Well, you should be walking here. 3, 2, pop an alt fire here, pop an alt fire here. You get your jump, you get your bubble. You can walk on the backline, or you can even walk the backline here. You notice that? Take less damage, more nuance, more ways of denying cover, better access to backline if you want to go for backline. The whole 9 yards, right? Good job. Oh gosh, we got to be really careful about these. You tend to over push when you're up people when you don't have bubble. It's just not good. Like even here, right? If you get your primal rage force, that's gonna suck. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have to stop reading the kill feed as the only thing that matters. It is not the only thing that matters. Your bubble is honestly even more important than kill feed. Have to break that habit. We see that basically every fight. This is fine. We're going from right angle to right angle. My only criticism here is I'm not sure if our team wants to fight here. You kind of tell a couple of our people don't really want to fight there, and I don't think it's honestly good to fight them in their spawn in this map. I think it's much better to let them come to here where you have better off angles. But at least we're starting from where we don't have bubble, so we're walking on the angle. We're not taking damage. We're not taking damage. Then we jump from right to right. We're not running it down main. We're kind of staying again on the outside. Remember that Microsoft Paint drawing, right? So yeah, this is actually okay. Oh no, please don't go for Valkyrie Mercy. Please don't go for Valkyrie Mercy. That sucks. I honestly don't even know if I'd go for, I mean, a non-Valkyrie Mercy, maybe it can work, but yeah. It's just not a skill matchup that ages very well for you. But yeah, it's fine. Just don't freaking die, and this is fine. This is fine. Yep, good job. It's okay. We need to live. Oh my days, we need to live. Oh, it's so sloppy. Right here, your only priority here is living, right? Live. Just get out. Just back up. You're fine. You did your job, right? So it's whether it's with bubble or whether it's with low HP or without bubble or with low HP, we just really behave very sloppily when we're up a few. You're not attentive to your resources at all, and maybe that one was you're not intending to go in, but we have to keep an eye on that. There's a lot of almost or very much unnecessary deaths. Okay. More of a difficult map here. So you're going to be taking probably more frontline trades, but again, as long as it's on the side, it's fine. So I guess even the term frontline is bad. I mean tank trades, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? So like, maybe it's a little sloppy from the enemy team. Maybe it's even a little sloppy from you. As in, we just need to drop bubbles sooner. Like this bubble's very late, and it's also very deep, right? You remember they're inside of your bubble, so that was very bad. However, if we had actually played this one well, this is actually really good. So what I would have asked you to do is to walk here, drop bubble, and kind of lean to the edge of your bubble here. Lean to the edge of your bubble. Don't throw your corpse right in the middle of the enemy team, because you can actually see how unbelievably disruptive this is. Overload is almost down. Roadhog gets exploded. Orisa Fortify, Orisa Javelin. Everyone's looking at you. You could have taken almost literally 0 damage and then just jump back out again. That's what I was talking about in terms of unfavorable hero matchups, but you do a surprising amount of resource trade on that situation. Like, I mean, look at that. Like, just one bubble and everybody's like freaking dying on their team, right? And it wasn't all you. It was your team's follow-up. And I want to give you credit for staging this one well from on a really bad map, right? Just being able to like hold here and just pop up and over. If they'd taken an off angle here, you might have had a bubble on this. But yeah, I mean, this is almost good. Almost good. It's a good angle. Really bad mechanical execution from you, though. You're going to have to put attention to this. Like, there is just no way of... Like, there's no shortcutting to it. If you want to get better at Winston, you have to get better mechanics. And the way to get better mechanics is just pay a lot more attention to when I'm bubbling, how I need to be bubbling, clean disengages, clean engages. There's just no way to shortcut it, right? And it's not just simply playing more. It's playing more with the intention of nailing the bubble placement, right? Like we saw one earlier where you bubble too early when the Zen wasn't even looking at you. We've seen a couple times where you bubble too late. We've seen a couple ones where you bubbled, but you didn't play the edge of the bubble, right? Like this is what I'm referring to when I talk about mechanics, right? This kind of stuff has to be done well. Okay, it looks like we're checking our team's positioning. You probably could have... Okay, no, we're waiting for our other support. Okay, never mind. I was like, why are we waiting? We're checking our teammate's positioning, which is good, but we're waiting for our other support, and then our support dies. Yeah, it's fine. I wouldn't stack here if I were you. I'm thinking about like, okay, we're gonna. I know you said the latency and falling off the map and all that kind of stuff, but maybe you don't have time to disengage. I don't know. Okay, if you do walk with your team here because you don't really have time, I would, as quickly as I can, just jump out like away from the enemy team and try to set up an angle behind. Try to not use your bubble. But yeah, this is a bit awkward for sure. Okay, so let's check context here. Your Malga's end. You're gonna take the space. Oh gosh, it's just so. If you mess up and you have to bubble without engaging, that's fine, but it sucks to have to bubble and then also take 350 damage. It just sucks. Yeah, let's just wrap left here. This is good. You don't have bubble, so maybe it's a little cheeky, but you've got the cover, so it's fine. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, then where's the next step from here, right? You could either drop, because Microsoft Paint, right? You either drop right on the angle that you're on, or you could jump across to here for a better target, and then wait 3, 2, 1, drop, or even just 2 seconds and drop from there. Let's see what you do. Yeah, we're just taking too much damage. We need to actually commit to something. This is fine though. I don't think you realized that the Zenyatta was there though. Oh my gosh, there's no way. Okay, well, I guess it works. And he did stay on the outside there, and at least they're being respectful without our bubble right now, so that's good. This guy thought he was like a freaking elevator. That's funny. Yeah. Oh, so overall your staging is okay. It's not bad. I think you chose the wrong perk though. I think especially in 66 versus these heroes, these guys are going to explode your bubble, so you should be choosing Chain Fire. 100%, 100%. Bubble heal is very good in a lot of situations, even in 66, but not if your bubble is like exploding. Oh, this sucks. Just like goofy mechanical errors here. I would take here, and then I would just listen. And then either mark their angle here, so just fight them on the angle here, or if they just all clump and walk out, just drop and just walk behind them. You can also, so this is another like 66 thing, you can also off angle here, and like as they walk through the choke, cleave them as they come through. Again, it's always like that Microsoft Paint drawing, right? But you do need to get behind them, right? This is really bad. This is like, they're gonna explode your bubble, and there's no off angle here. The way to get cleave with Winston in 6v6 and 5v5 as well is to go from the side. So you cleave them as they walk through, but you're making them look at either Orisa or you, right? This is too easy. You see how quick they blew that up? And look at their HP, right? So much healthier than last time. You wanna know why? Because nobody in your team can follow up because you haven't let them out of the choke. You need to let them out of the choke unless your team is fighting them in here, right? It's not a good angle. It's really, really bad. Because here, like if you're here and you're bubbling here, you're cooking, right? You're cooking so much more value there. No. Stop. Just jump across, you know? I mean, this is deep, but at least it's an angle, right? When you dive deep with Primal, at least you force him to turn around, right? Pretty reasonable Primal. Okay. Probably won't kill anymore here. Yeah, I'll just bubble and get out. You need to 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 get out. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, this is tricky. This is just your Orisa's overextended, and so you're trying to help her out. So you have a bad angle, but they're also walking through a choke as well. So, I mean, this goes to show if you really don't have time for an angle, Bubble's still really OP. So like Bubble's still really OP. I mean, we actually there were some very brief periods of time in Goats when people were actually experimenting with Winston Goats in certain situations. And I don't mean like the traditional like Winston divas, all right? I mean like Ryan Winston stuff. Because if you could win the frontline trade, it was a really bad versus off angle, so it ended up not staying. But Winston frontline trades were busted. Bubble with Ryan Shield and Sorry Bubble is just insane. It's better than Matrix and frontline stuff over short fights. But yeah, this is just the enemy team is just completely discombobulated. Okay, so we'll keep going. We'll watch maybe a couple more fights here. But big thing so far has just been simply put, starting on left or right and committing to left or right, and then just kind of clearing that angle, taking the trade with whatever's there. But a large portion of your problems isn't necessarily from staging, although that could honestly just be better. It's due to your mechanics, your HP trades on these bubbles, and then crucially your over-eagerness to do things when you don't have health or when you don't have bubble just because you're up 1 or 2. It's not how it works. Like healing in Overwatch, this isn't Rivals, right? DPS always beats healing, always. Almost without exception, with the exception of like a couple of support cooldowns, timings, and like certain ultimates, obviously. So if you're getting actively healed by 2 supports and being shot at by 1 DPS, that's kind of like the proportionate trade, especially with the DPS passive, right? But if you're not being double pocketed, then that's a huge problem. And the reality of Overwatch 2 is that like if you're being double pocketed by a support just to kill 1 DPS because you don't have bubble, those 2 supports would kill the character faster than you if they could just use their guns and didn't have to pocket you. Right? So we kind of talked about that with the BAP, right? It's just inefficient, even if it doesn't get you killed. Okay. Lane here is fine. Left to left is fine. I wouldn't even necessarily force high ground here. Like if you fell down because of your goofed up jump, that's fine. Just walk from here, and then you can kind of see it with the enemy team's map control right now. They're very much leaning towards this side. So then take this angle here, dive this EDRA, bubble trade, hide, force her to go this way, and then from here you can approach your jump from here, or you can even wrap around this way. But you don't have to just go high ground here, because you see the problem with this high ground here is that there's a lot of open sight lines, which means it's potentially easier for them to trade you out. So this feels a little awkward where you're chasing a target, so it's okay. But ultimately now you're not really on that paint drawing outside anymore. You're not on the outside right, you're not on the outside left, so it's very hard for you to find cover right now. Do you feel what I'm saying? I mean, you feel it, right? There's no cover. You're getting pincered and surrounded, and also things feel very chaotic. Yeah. I was gonna say you're on right now, so might as well take right. Oh gosh, but we don't have bubble. Oh gosh. Oh gee, Willikers. Yeah. I mean, I guess it ends up working out, but again, there's just nothing wrong in this situation with just not doing anything. I know you're like, oh, but we're fighting. I know, but that's the nature of your character's balance. Your character is unbelievable. Like, I really honestly feel that Winston Bubble is the strongest cooldown in the game objectively. I think there is not a character in the game that benefits as much from Bubble in terms of what, like a Winston without Bubble literally can do nothing. Almost literally can do nothing in comparison to other characters. Even Joker Queen Shao, Kiriko Suzu, just not as important, right? So what that means is that you're not expected to be doing much. So I don't mind jumping here and then maybe peeking this here, pop a couple all fires, and then just wait for bubble, you know? Then instead of being this chaotic, stressful, I barely survived, demand so many resources, we just kick this Genji's teeth in, you know? We can actually kill the Freya confidently, right? The problem is that even though it works so inefficiently, right? You demand so many resources in this situation, bubble and everything, when we could have just done this exact same thing, killed her at the exact same time, and done so without being super stressed about it, you know? Go get him. Nice. Stay here. Stay here. Stay here and then deepen. Look who's here. You didn't know that they were there, but it's because you didn't look. You have your jump. You have your bubble. You could walk, grab the mini. Obviously, you don't have health right now, so you wouldn't want to go immediately, but you could jump, grab the mini. You could even bubble off and just throw some alt fire here. This angle matters. What are you doing here? If you're getting healing, okay, fine, but then you need to get off of your team as quickly as you possibly can and set up that angle that we talked about, whether that's right or whether that's left. And by angle, I don't always mean hard flank. It could literally just be here, you know, and then approaching and pincering this Genji from behind, or maybe jumping up in here and controlling this space, right? How deep you go as Winston, it's really depending on where the enemy team is, but regardless, it's just left or right, Just get off at the point. That's the big thing. This is not a 6v6 Winston. This is just bad Winston. By bad, I'm being facetious. Like, obviously, you're fine at Winston, but could be better. Nah, we're just kind of holding point. And because the enemy team, you notice what the Winston's doing, right? The Winston's doing the exact same. He's just running it down main, and this Winston's even doing it without bubble. So this Winston's like egregiously bad, right? So you're punishing this because you're not playing as badly as he is. You're being a lot more efficient with your bubble timing. But that's not good enough. So think about this from this perspective. Imagine holding this space here, popping alt fire. Imagine holding this space here, popping, oh, alt fire, we'll Winston bubble trade, right? Even just simply being here on this corner here, right? So we think about the Microsoft Paint. You're running Moira Lucio. I don't have a lot of range healing. I can't take deep flanks. Okay, fine. Why not be here and then approach the Microsoft Paint from the side here? You see what I'm saying? Think about how that would be so much more easy than jumping all the way across here. Just walk onto here and trade from here. Pursue with jump if you see an opportunity to get a kill. Just food for thought. I keep saying Microsoft Paint because I want you to think about those directions, like approaching the blob from the side. It doesn't have to be a flank. It doesn't all the way have to be all the way behind. It doesn't even have to be a squishy. It could be a tank, but just approaching it from the side. I mean, think about your first fight on the Busan Mecha base, right? When you had the Orisa Roadhog, when you were like very tight. It wasn't really hard flank, but it was just a little bit to the side. Now, you misplaced your bubble, as we talked about, but you definitely had the right idea. Oh, man, this is not going to work. Bubble's still strong, but yeah, you're fricked. Oh, jeez, it sucks to use your beat and then just do nothing with it because everybody's having to pocket you. Yeah, I was gonna say, not. Of all the choices, that was a choice. Still winnable, I think. So I think this is reasonable. Good target prioritization here. Yeah, it's good target, really good target prioritization. Yeah, that was really heads up. Good, not primal. Staying on the targets that you could actually kill. Actually, such a nice little mechanical clutch from you there, my friend. Like this is actually, well, actually, I think we'll end the review here. That was nice little bit of mechanics to end it with. Good way to keep your focus under a lot of pressure, and the mechanics look pretty solid there as well. So for Diamond for sure. So okay, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Basically, all I want you to do is whether it's 5v5 or 66, just approaching from the side, just as much as you possibly can. Even if it's not necessarily hard flanking or hard diving, just approaching from the side, approaching from the side, approaching from the side. Don't have bubble, don't have health, chill. Don't have bubble, don't have health, chill. Don't feel like you must have 100% uptime. And then finally, just really clean up the timing and the placement of those bubbles, because that's going to be like an unbelievably important skill for you to work on. And you should be working on these things, I think, in isolation. I wouldn't work on all three of these at the same time, maybe one per game. And if any questions come up, just let me know.